and welcome to episode 4 of Connected on Relay FM. Today is the 10th of September 2014. This episode of Connected is brought to you by Igloo, an intranet you'll actually like, lynda.com, where you can instantly stream thousands of courses created by industry experts for a free trial. Visit lynda.com/connected, and Studio Neat, makers of the Glyph, the Cosmonaut, and the Neat Ice Kit. My name is Mike Hurley, and I am joined by my two co-hosts, as I always am, Mr. Stephen Hackett and Mr. Federico Vittici. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
Hi. Ah! We did it. You can't do that to us, Mike.
I know.
You have to
I'm sorry.
do it one at a time.
Shall I just say it again? Mr. Stephen Hackett
Hey!
and Mr. Federico Vittici.
Hey, guys.
Do you feel more comfortable now?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Damn it.
I appreciate it, yeah.
So, big show today, guys. Big show.
Oh, yeah? Why?
There was something about a TV truck.
Were we supposed to prepare for this one?
Well, no. All day. I have been ensconced inside a TV truck, and I've been looking at the something.
How's your
Yeah.
CES?
Do you wanna talk about the Windows Phone rebranding, right?
Has there been a Windows Phone rebranding?
Yeah. Well, today there's a new rumor that apparently Microsoft is discontinuing the Windows Phone name. It's gonna be just Windows. And
that will be nice and confusing for everyone.
Yeah, they're also dropping the Nokia brand, and they're gonna buy
seems
Minecraft for
Yeah.
$2 billion. So
Yeah. Maybe they're just gonna make the Windows interface just look like Minecraft.
yeah, tell you what, they should just bring back Balmer, and
It's all going crazy over in Redmond.
Maybe we should talk about Apple stuff.
Why?
Maybe, yeah. Could
There's
be an
never
idea.
any Apple news to talk about.
Apple is doomed.
They don't
I have
release
some- I have-
products.
I have 3 follow-up links, and then we can just wrap it up.
Yeah, okay, let's just do that.
So, as is Apple's sort of thing during an event, sometimes they do like little secret things, and so you realize later that they've discontinued the iPod Classic, as Marco pointed out on Twitter yesterday. And then there's a link in the show notes to Mac Stories with a fun little chart of the iPod.
What is this chart?
And it's when it was updated, and you can see that it was updated a lot, and then it stopped being updated in 2009, and now it's dead.
I love the gap in that time.
It's really sad.
It's like, and then it's just like nothing.
No, there should be just like in that gap between the last update and the the discontinuation of the device, just in bold letters, whatever, just in the middle.
And then someone's like, "Oh,
And
this is still here."
And
Pull it
maybe
off the store.
maybe Steven's face, like around 2013 when he was still hoping for some kind of update, and then it's dead. I mean, it's sad, right? Because it's like an old friend.
I think
if you can ever become friend with an iPod,
I
you
am.
get the idea, right? Yeah.
I think that personally, I think that this product has been discontinued because we've been talking about it so much recently. Like Apple just forgot that it existed and they didn't know it was on the store,
Yeah.
and now we've been talking about it, and someone was like, "Oh, yeah, take that thing down." So, Stephen, this is your fault.
It's like when we killed Everpix on the old show.
Yeah, like every single
Yeah.
photo service.
Yeah, the curse lives on.
So if we just keep talking about the iPhone,
The iPhone is gonna win.
the iPhone's just going to go away.
Yeah. Also in the show notes, there's this article from 2003, so I'm really on top of it, from the New York Times called "The Guts of a New Machine." And a couple people emailed this to me. I don't have any names handy yet, so I apologize if this is because someone mailed it to us who's listening. But
So
just
you guys
a little
remember?
interest.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, Steven. I just wanted to ask you. Do you remember when there was like that American energy drink that at one point it was like retired from sale, and there were like people buying the last few boxes of that drink?
The Loco, whatever.
Yeah.
Loco.
Did you do the same with the iPod Classic?
I did. I bought one. I bought one 3 months ago.
It's
And now they
panic
killed it.
buying.
Yeah.
No, seriously, how many iPod Classics do you have?
Yeah, 4 Loco. Joe Steele still has some at his house, I think. But this article's really interesting because it's written in 2003, and so it sort of talks about Apple at the time, and just, like there's no guarantee that today's leader will not be copycatted and undersold until tomorrow's niche player. Like, it's just an interesting article because it was 2 years after the iPod, and it's really before. I mean, the iPod was growing by 2003, but I would argue that 2004, 2005 were the big years. So it's an interesting little snapshot into what people were thinking at the time. And you should check it out in our show notes, which are on the internet somewhere.
They are at relay.fm/connected/4.
4 like 4 loco.
4 like 4 loco.
Yep.
So, some sad news, but there is a silver lining to it. So, a friend of the show, actually was our guest host last week, Mr. Jason Snell, has departed IDG and Macworld today. And unfortunately as well today there have been some changes at Macworld in which some fantastic people have lost their jobs or have left. There's been a lot of change. Macworld Magazine is going away. It's the end of an era for Macworld Magazine, and Macworld.com will be continuing. So I think first off, I want to give, on behalf of all of Relay, on behalf of all of us, our best to everyone who has been affected by this news today, because they are friends of the network. But the silver lining is Mr. Jason Snell is going to be a part of Relay FM now. Sorry, Stephen, did you have something?
Yeah.
I can hear you in the background, ready to say something.
It is, I tweeted this earlier, but it's, I've been published in Macworld, as a lot of people have. They were always really good. If you were an up-and-coming writer, I emailed a bunch of those guys over the years, worked with an editor there a couple of times, and I really will miss like the printed Macworld. It was something that, I would go buy. I had a subscription for a while, read it on the iPad and newsstand the last couple of years, and it's just a real cornerstone of our little world. And yes, it'll be on the web, but and I'm sure the people who are staying and the people who run the web will do a great job. But it is sad, and a lot of our friends are now looking for work, and our community is going to be worse off without a printed Macworld magazine, I think. And I don't just say that because I'm an old man with like a journalism degree. Like I really believe that they held an important corner of our world. They've been around since 1984. I mean, they're a 30-year-old institution, and we're super excited to have Jason on board. I wrote in our company, our brands blog today, like Mike and I, like you and I, really were honored when Jason approached us about this deal, and we couldn't be happier to have him here. But it definitely is a dark day for the community as well.
So the good news is Clockwise, which is a current podcast that IDG have at Tech Hive, is going to be joining Relay soon. We will have more updates about that soon. We have to just do some stuff with the technical side, and Jason will be having a new show, which I'm going to be helping him out with, called Upgrade, and that's going to be starting very soon. So keep your eye out for that. We've got some exciting stuff planned. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of Jason Snell all over the internet, and thankfully, we are very lucky.
You're not gonna sunset Jason's brands.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to give Jason a sunrise, if anything.
Nice.
Oh dear.
Good job, Mike.
Thanks, guys. I'll just keep going.
We should just move on. So this a big week, huge week, as some would say. Apple took the stage yesterday at the Flint Center in Cupertino and introduced a Flint. What did I say?
No, I was listening to last week's episode, and it was Flint Center. Sorry.
The website's really good. They haven't updated it yet. And so our plan today is to kind of give some overall thoughts and then break it down into the iPhone, the payment stuff, and the watch. And I think all three of us have watched so the stream. We should just start. Like the stream had a lot of issues. It was terrible. Really actually frustrating to watch yesterday.
Yeah. Which was a shame, right? Because they've hyped it up so much They should have been expecting it. I'm sure that they were. I'm sure there's only so much you can do, but it was very frustrating to.
It was embarrassing considering all the
Yeah.
hype and and all the anticipation that went to for promotion and all the tweets and the Apple.com. It was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, because
frankly.
they did a real fancy job with that page, and then it was just like severely broken. They were video was stuttering and failing. There was like the Chinese, I think it was Chinese like translation, like bed
Like-
underneath,
Yeah, dubbed in.
Yep. Which was it's kind of distracting.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's here in town, and he actually speaks Chinese. He's bilingual, speaks Chinese and English, and he was like, it gave me a headache. Like I had to just like stop watching because I was keeping up with both.
It'd be like an echo.
Yeah. So they ended up getting that sorted out. I mean, I think at work we watched the last, all the watch stuff on, and it was fine, but it clearly an energy at this event that we haven't really seen of Tim Cook. Like we had like an emotional Tim Cook. And I really think, and we'll get to this more later with the watch, but like this is sort of his first keynote. Like I truly believe the watch is a project that originated, that had its conception underneath Tim's watch. This is not something that was in the works before Jobs passed away. And you can see that, right? Like he uses the line, one more thing. And he actually, when I rewatched it last night, he actually gets choked up.
Yeah.
When he says that line, which is like, I really believe is genuine. Like I think it's really him
that was a
realizing
powerful moment.
The weight.
Yeah. I think that some of this excitement though was present in WWDC. I think that there was, you could see from him as well that there were things that were Tim Cook's Apple there as well. And I think the excitement started there, but it definitely was more palpable in this presentation, especially from him.
Yeah, I think there was a different vibe from WWDC. And I mean, of course, these are different products. This is consumer stuff. It's a phone and a watch, and the kind of crowd is also different because at WWDC you have all these developers, with new technologies and APIs. But it felt like Steven said, it felt like a different Tim Cook, and it felt like a different Apple on stage, even different from because in June we were saying, oh, this is a new Apple, this is a different Apple, and this one was also different in another way. And I don't know if it's maybe the fact that they announced a product that it's so focused on fashion and being a mass market product for all kinds of consumers, but it felt different and it felt new and it was strange. And maybe it's the fact that that the live stream had all sorts of issues, and so I was kind of struggling to keep up with the news. And maybe it's also the bigger phone, right? Because we got so used to thinking about the iPhone as the compact phone. So it was a lot of different aspects and factors that together make me think that it was kind of strange. And I think it's a lot to process, but in a different way than WWDC. It's like meeting a friend after a decade, and it's strange. There's Apple with a watch and with a bigger phone that doesn't seem like Apple, right?
I agree.
I agree. And even the pacing, right? Like Apple's events are methodical, and I mean, just a couple minutes in, he's like showing the new iPhone, and it's I think 40 minutes or so in, like they're done with the iPhone and done with iOS 8, and it's time for something else. So the pace was definitely fast. It was still 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And a lot of the watch stuff was in video. There was a really long Johnny Ive White Room video with a lot of like flying watches, and there was a demo by the old Adobe guy. It was just a different pace, and I think that reflects their excitement about it. And we'll get a little bit later about maybe why that excitement could hurt them. But overall, sort of a different vibe, but one that was not bad. I mean, it was a very enjoyable event to watch and to take in.
Yeah, I guess the only weird parts were the U2 and the MOBA game, the demo of the game. Like, it
Yeah.
seemed unnecessary. I mean, the graphics were nice,
Yeah.
but it seems this kind of demos, unless it's a huge company like Epic Games or Electronic Arts, they're always a bit like, it's filler, right?
Oh, yeah,
It's stuff that it's there for, I don't know why. And U2, yeah. It was just strange.
Or like
the finger touch.
Oh,
yeah.
Exciting.
The game, like, I would understand it if they had something new to show, but we already saw a demo of Metal. Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't
it was
necessary. Like, when you're rushing through it, like, to spend like 5 or 10 minutes with a company showing an interesting game, but it just seemed a little bit peculiar in this one. But
and they skipped all of the normal. This is how the Apple Store is doing. This is how the Mac is doing. Yep. I think we will see that in October at the iPad event.
Yeah.
But it was like, just jump in, straight business. We also learned there's a GIF in the chat room and in the show notes. And if you go to the page on Relay FM, you'll see it in action. There's Tim Cook is actually like fist pumping in front of a crowd of cheering people, and maybe he's going to jump into a mosh pit.
He's fist pump guy now.
He's fist pump guy. He's double fist pump guy.
There is a potential that Tim was the original fist pump guy because Steve was on stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
what
guys,
if Tim Cook has
crazy.
been the fist pumping guy all along?
We've uncovered this is a real secret. Tip Tech Beam.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Linda and then come back to the new iPhones.
Sounds great to me, guys. So I want to take a quick moment to thank our first sponsor of this week's episode, and that's the great people at lynda.com. Lynda is an easy and affordable way to help individuals and organizations learn. You can instantly stream thousands of courses created by experts on software, web development, graphic design, and so much more. Lynda makes sure that they work directly with industry experts, with people that really know their stuff. And they also work directly with software companies as well, so the people actually creating the applications and the programs that you're going to be working with to provide timely training. They will have if a new version of a product is released, they'll have training videos out the same day. So they're going to make sure that you're always up to speed. All of Lynda's courses are produced at super high quality. They're people that are well prepared, they've got great scripts, they really know what they're doing, and they're in fantastic setups. They've got great audio equipment, great video equipment, and they're using all of the right stuff that they need to help you learn. And they do that by creating high quality content. Lynda's courses are broken down into bite-sized pieces, so you're able to learn at your own pace, and you can learn wherever you want with Lynda's mobile apps. They have apps for iPhone, iPad, and Android, as well as learning on the web. They have fantastic tools like searchable transcripts. You can create playlists if you want as well. Whether you're beginner or advanced, lynda.com has courses for all experience levels. They are going to take care of you and make sure that your brain just gets more full of awesome information. With only one low monthly price of $25, Lynda gives you unlimited access to 100,000 video tutorials, and they're growing all the time. These are tutorials in topics like development. Maybe you want to learn some stuff about business and marketing for your new application that you're working on. Maybe you need to learn some 3D animation stuff to create the game that will then be featured on stage at the iPhone keynote. Or maybe you want to make a podcast like us and you want to learn Logic, or maybe you want to learn GarageBand to help you do that. They even have courses that specifically for podcasting. Maybe you're interested in photography, they've got all that sort of stuff too. You name it, Lynda has it. And we've worked out an awesome deal with lynda.com to provide you with access to all of their courses for free for 7 days. Visit lynda.com/connected to sign up right now. That's lynda.com/connected. Please support Lynda as they are supporting us, and it helps us continue to make the stuff that we love to make. Thank you so much to Lynda for supporting Relay FM and Connected.
So this week was another example of Apple sort of announcing, at least in the phone space, basically what people expected. There was even a joke about, in case you don't know what their sizes are.
Yeah, it's like if you don't know already, like
yeah, wink, wink.
Yep.
And And that's sort of to be expected. And I think Apple having a sense of humor about that, at least on stage. I'm sure privately they don't find it funny.
Heads are rolling.
Yeah.
But
I
they
mean,
can make
someone
jokes about
booted one from like extra parts. But so quickly, 4.7 to 5.5 inches. The specs are the same except battery life and the optical image stabilization, which we'll get back to. And I, for one, think it's really nice looking. Jason had a picture on Twitter of the two phones with the original iPhone laying next to them, and it kind of harkens back to that with the curved edges. The backs are all aluminum. I think they look really nice.
Yeah. I mean, Apple has been doing all the rounded edges thing with like the iPod Touch and the iPhone 5C, and actually, I think it looks more like the latest iPod Touches more than the original iPhone. But I do see the point, right? And I do think that it's more comfortable to hold thanks to the rounded edges, and it looks more friendly as well, because the iPhone 5 and before the iPhone 4, with the sharp edges, they always looked and felt a bit too, I guess, sophisticated.
Industrial was a feeling.
Industrial, yeah.
The rounded edges significantly help with the larger screens too. It helps them sit in the hand a little bit more, and it makes it more comfortable. So when you're reaching, you're not getting like stabbed by a glass corner.
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but it really does help.
No, it's true. It's true. And I tried to. So I wanted to print, right? There's this sort of paper mock-up of the... and Steven, you linked to this PDF too. You can print your own iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus and see what it looks like. And so last night at about 5 a.m. or maybe 6 a.m., I tried to print this PDF from... so I went to Steven's website, right? And I opened this PDF and I wanted to print it. And I was afraid that it was early morning and the noise of the printer would wake people up.
Like that, somewhere in the back room.
Exactly. So
was that your mouth making that noise?
I prefer not to say.
So I realized that I was out of ink, so I couldn't print the paper thing. And so I went to Apple's website, and there's the compare all the iPhones, right? There's a little web page that you can do a comparison, and it looks like the image at the top is a real size screenshot, a real size photo with all the iPhones. So I took my iPhone 5S and I put it on the screen, and I confirmed. No, hold on, and I confirmed that it was a real size iPhone. So I spent like 30 minutes at like 6 a.m. with my hand on the screen, trying to figure out if the iPhone 6 Plus is too big for me. And so this morning I opened my MacBook Air and I found all these smudges on the display.
Did you put your face on your screen at any point?
No, just my full hand, right? And I pretended to hold the phone. I even resized the Safari window to like put it next to the bezel and just hold it. Yeah, it was I don't know what I was doing.
What did you learn from this?
It's kind of big.
Okay, great. Thanks. Let's move on.
This is true pro blogging. I did the same thing, and I have to say, I think the 4.7 is the one for me. And I guess we can move on into the display a little bit.
Let's talk about them, and then we can talk about what we think what we're going to get, if anything.
So they're using something called photo aligned pixels, which in the keynote they sort of gloss over, but apparently the screens look better. They're calling them Retina HD displays, which it's the same, the 6-inch and the iPhone 5, or the 4.7 and the old 4.inch Retina display is the same density. So I don't know, HD is just sort of added to it because it's cool. The big one is at 401 pixels per inch, so it's nice, and it's 1080, so it's 1920 by 1080.
It's all of the pixels, basically. Just
all of them.
They're all in there. 2 million, apparently.
So they said in the keynote that they're slightly curved, but I didn't see anybody really talking about that in the hands-on videos I watched.
Yeah.
So I don't know how aggressive that curve is.
I assume it's super slight.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. And I think again, trying to make it more comfortable in the hand. Someone just put in the show notes. Panic apparently is 3D printing them so they can like hold them for real, which is sort of awesome. So that'll be in the show notes.
Hair Force Ones is in the chat room. It's good to know.
Probably not the same guy.
It definitely is.
So can we talk about reachability for a second?
The worst name of anything ever.
It's not as bad as continuity, but so more or less, if you double tap on the home button, is this on both iPhone 6 and 6 Plus? I
think it's just 6 Plus.
So if you double tap it, basically the whole UI slides down, so you can easily push a button at the top of the screen.
Is it
like,
double
you should find a
tap
video
or double touch?
It's double touch.
Double touch.
Which is trying to like I have always struggled like when I was showing people Touch ID, like just press your finger on the home screen. No, don't, no, not Siri. Just press and no, don't.
Yeah.
I'm really liking the sound effects today.
I'm all about sound effects. Clearly, I've discovered this about myself.
Yeah.
You remember the movie Police Academy?
Yeah.
I'm basically that guy.
Yeah. You're like the Apple beatboxer.
I am. Beatboxer.
And there been a report out in the New York Times that Apple was going to have some sort of one-handed mode, and apparently this is it, which is a lot better than what Samsung does, where they like cram it all in the corner. And I could see this being helpful. You know, Phil Schiller says, not all apps support swipe gestures, and so it's if you need the back button, you can do it. I hope that this is one of those things that we sort of forget about, and you don't really need a lot of the time. But it is nice that it's there.
No, that it will be difficult, right? So I've been looking at some of our favorite applications. There are things that you will need to get to in that top left or that top right, like Tweetbot, for example. There are important pieces of the navigation in the top left and top right. It's something that's needed because there just simply isn't enough space on the bottom. Well, there might be on the new one, but you're never going to get all of the important items that you need in the bottom. It's a clever thing to have. Like, it's an inelegant solution. It's an ingenious, inelegant solution to a real problem. Like, it's inelegant because it's weird, right? The whole phone UI just slides down the screen. Like, that's just strange. But it's smart, and it will do the job. But it is maybe more displaying a baked-in problem. It's highlighting a problem that exists via the solution itself. But it definitely is. It's smart. I like it.
I have a few points, Mike.
Yes, please.
So I totally agree with you that it, like at first I was when I first saw the screenshot, right? I was hoping that it would turn out to be like running iPhone apps in compatibility mode on the iPad, like something that it's there. It's not elegant, but for some people it's necessary, and all the other, I mean, the majority of users have likely forgotten about that feature. But I agree with you when you say that it's an ingenious solution for a real problem, because for as much as you try to keep the controls at the bottom and use gestures, there are just, some buttons and some pieces of the interface that you gotta keep at the top of the display. So you gotta use something like reachability to get to those buttons easily. And I also think that using the double touch on the home button is an interesting idea, because I guess it opens up for another kind of control on iOS devices. Like right now we are using the touch for Touch ID, and now there's gonna be double touch for reachability. But what about the iPad? Is it possible that there was a rumor about the iPad gaining an
split screen,
multitasking split screen feature? So could it be that maybe double touch is gonna be used to split the screen in two and use the app you're using and the most recent app from the multitasking tray at the same time? That could be an idea, because I don't see, there's not going to be a reachability problem on the iPad. So Apple now has a new gesture, a new command, essentially, that's not used on the iPad.
That
And
worked. I think that's quite a smart idea. I think that works in my brain.
Yeah.
And the last point is that I'm curious to see if in reachability mode, what happens to the status bar when you basically pull down an app to reach the top of the interface. Can you tap on the status bar while in reachability mode to scroll at least to the top like you can by tapping the status bar normally? That's one of my questions, and I look forward to the reviews next Tuesday or Wednesday. What is it that they will hit the interwebs?
It's interesting too on the big phone that they're sort of doing landscape mode a little bit differently, because when you turn that big phone sideways, the home screen rotates like it does on the iPad, and they're showing 2-up display like on the iPad. So on the phone in Mail, you either see your list of messages or you see the messages themselves. And the big phone sideways, you see like you do on the tablet. And I've really been like thinking this over, because an app does not have to be universal to do this. You know, the new stuff in iOS 8 allows you to do this in just an iPhone app. But I do wonder what will happen overall with universal apps. Will this have an impact? Does adaptive layout make it easier to make an iPad version of your UI, and so people will just start doing universal apps because it's easier, or is it less likely to do it? I'm just curious how that's going to play out. I think it'll be interesting to see over the next year what happens there. But I do like that they are using that extra display space for extra things, like in landscape, the 6 Plus keyboard shows cut, copy, and paste commands.
I think there's also a cursor selection, like cursor movement buttons. There's like a left and right? Did you see that? I haven't seen anybody mention that.
I wanted to mention that because there are custom buttons to do stuff that are not enabled in third-party keyboards and in general to allowed for third-party developers to access. And there was a tweet by the Olezorn, the Pythonista and editorial guy, today showing all the buttons that Apple is putting in the keyboard for the iPhone 6 Plus. There's like a cut feature which you cannot access programmatically when you create a custom keyboard. And so there's gonna be, those are all features that exclusive features to Apple software that will become feature requests for iOS 9 in a few months.
I feel like they couldn't have indicated that this was a possibility before now, though, because it would have given it away. So maybe it will come sooner than that.
Yeah.
And I do think we'll see that on the iPad. I bet that in landscape on the iPad, the keyboards will pick this up. And before I forget, or before the chat room murders us, reachability is on both phones.
Okay, great.
So that's nice.
About
real-time
the
follow-up, right?
That's right.
That what it is.
About the iPad layout, I think it's just Apple is generally advising developers to develop, applications using adaptive layouts. So I don't think it's gonna change the fact that they need to create two separate apps and two separate designs. Apple is just saying use this new API to make sure that on the phone and on the iPad you can scale your design and layout according to new screen sizes. But I don't think that the fact that you have an iPad app necessarily makes it easy. I guess it makes it easier from a conceptual standpoint because you know how things should move on the screen. But from a technical perspective, it's still two separate things. And also, I mean, of course, there's a rumor about a larger iPad coming, the iPad Pro. It's like 50 inches, I don't know. And so maybe developers will also on the iPad, there will be an advantage in using these new adaptive layouts things when eventually there will be a new iPad with a display so big Jim Master is gonna scream in excitement.
The size thing is I did the same thing you did. I printed them out, and my wife for one is not excited. I think Marco's wife Tiffany tweeted about this last night too. Like, there's a lot of people who aren't excited about a bigger phone, and of course the cynic is like, oh well, you get a big phone and leave it in your bag, and your Apple Watch does all this stuff, and the 5.5 is too big for me. I'm going to go with the 4.7, and I think a lot of people will. But it is interesting to see some of this backlash that if you want a 4-inch phone, you have to buy an old one. And I understand that Apple's moving forward, and I don't begrudge them for that. But it is, seeing some people's feedback on that over the last 24 hours has been pretty interesting to me.
Well, my girlfriend is not gonna buy a new iPhone because of the size. She thinks it's too big for her hands, and she's gonna try to get a 5S. And maybe she's an exception. I don't think so. I do believe that there are lots of people who honestly just want the current 4-inch iPhone, and maybe some people who do want the old iPhone 4-sized iPhone, and they're not gonna get the new 6 or 6 Plus. And it'll be interesting to see if this is a real problem, if this is just some people, and maybe if these people will eventually upgrade because they just want the new iPhone, and if next year Apple is gonna release, after all, a 4-inch iPhone that's a new iPhone. Because I was also thinking about, what if the problem is from a technological perspective? What if the problem is that they added all these new sensors, right? There's a new stuff for the to measure your pressure, the barometer, and there's all these other stuff, right? There's NFC. What if the problem is that they couldn't fit all this new stuff in the current 4-inch design?
Strong chance.
And what if next year they manage to make it smaller and to figure out ways to make it fit into the case of the iPhone 5S? So next year there's gonna be three sizes, and people are gonna be happier, and they're gonna upgrade to an iPhone 6S or iPhone 7 or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're going to do what they've always done there, and that these phones, maybe just one of them becomes the old phone. I don't see them putting this technology in a 4-inch chassis. I think a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, the big size didn't work, Apple's going backwards, and that's just not something they want to deal with. It's much easier just to say, well, keep making this phone and just sell it for $100 less. I think the 5C will prove to be historically be an outlier, in which they sort of had a quote new phone in that middle price point.
I wouldn't be surprised to see, as we go into the future, the 5C become like the iPod Touch. So it's always there, even as the phones are bigger and bigger, and they kind of just make very small upgrades to it every couple of years or something. So they always have it as an option for people that want it, and it just remains like a free option.
But I mean, maybe it's new territory,
yeah.
Right? They've never had two top tier phones at the same time. So I think to a degree, any pattern could be up for disruption.
So anything else we want to talk about in regards to this sort of stuff, or should I take a break now and then we talk about what we want to get, what we think we're going to get?
Yeah, the camera technology, sort of the gains in this year are really interesting. Using focus pixels for phase detection, Phil Schiller said it's a big deal, and it really is. It's DSLR technology in a mobile phone. Now, it's not to say it's a DSLR, lens package with, you have a lot of space between the glass and the sensor. It's not saying that it's going to compete with something, that you could buy from Nikon or Canon for thousands of dollars. But I think Apple has gone after, and at this point, it's probably killed the point shoot market, and maybe even sort of like the low end, or mid-range, digital camera. It's really impressive that they keep moving the bar every year on the camera. They had some other stuff too. 1080p at 60 frames per second is nice. Slow-mo is now 240 frames per second. Like that video of the guy jump roping was crazy.
Yeah, it was just... it's you're saying about how, like, it's not DSLR, like, that sort of quality, but it's moving towards it. The crazy thing to me is every year, the iPhone camera continues to get better and better. Like, they continue to edge further and further into this field. Like, they add this thing and they add this thing, and it makes it better in this way and this way. And the camera is one of the most interesting parts to me of the way that they iterate the phone, because it just gets better every single time. Not everything else does, but every time they release an iPhone, the camera gets better in some way. Like, I just see that like the advancements that they're making. To me, I mean, I'm not that entrenched in the camera industry, but surely it feels like they're making steps faster than the camera industry is moving, and so it's bringing the distance between them closer and closer together.
It's interesting to me that they always say that music is very important in Apple's DNA, but they never make the speakers better on the iPhone. Because
It's a great point.
I mean, there are gonna be people upset at me for saying this, but occasionally I do listen to music on the iPhone speakers because I don't have time to go find my headphones. I'm not Marco Arment. I don't have
Amps.
all this stuff in my house for listening to music, and so sometimes I just listen with the iPhone, and it's never every year. It's never better, and so. I agree with you, Mike. It's impressive what they do with the camera. I wish that they would do the same with the speakers.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see something in the next phone because of Beats. Because all of those really cool HTC speakers, like the dual stereo, they were Beats speakers, like, and they were good. I actually played around with one of those, like where the speaker on the top and the bottom of the phone. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but like the speaker technology may get better. We'll see. I would like it to personally, because I'm the same as you. I have a Jambox that I use quite a lot, but there are times when I haven't got that with me, and I'm at home, and maybe I'm cooking dinner or something.
Exactly.
And I listen to even just podcasts, but I would love the quality to be better. So
plus Beats as an official, feature, it would be a huge marketing boost, I guess.
It definitely would.
Yeah.
Because that's why HTC did it. That including Beats Audio is a great big tick on the marketing plan.
Yeah.
This episode of Connected is also brought to you by our friends at Studio Neat, and today I want to talk a little bit about the Glyph. We've just been talking about how smartphone cameras are incredible and they're just getting better all the time. Well, the Glyph is an accessory for your phone that will allow you to take incredible images every time too. It allows you to do cool stuff like stop motion, slow motion, time-lapse and hyperlapse with the greatest of ease. The Glyph is a smartphone accessory with two primary functions. It's mounting your phone onto a tripod and propping your phone up at various angles. With the Glyph, you can mount your phone onto any stand that has a universal tripod thread built in, and it acts as a kickstand also, so you can prop up your phone to watch movies on the plane, if that's something that you want to do. The Glyph is built with industrial-grade materials in the US, so there are no springs to wear out, and it is rock solid. It also fits snugly into your pocket. It is about the size of a stick of gum. In its third generation, the Glyph is now adjustable, so it can fit any smartphone at all. They have one model. You have an Android phone, maybe you have an iPhone 6 or 6 Plus, maybe you have an iPhone 4. You can just adjust it very easily, and it will fit and keep your phone sturdy, so you're able to fix it on, mount it into that tripod, and start snapping. You can get a Glyph, put your new iPhone in it, and easily record awesome 240 frame per second slow-mo video. Maybe you want to capture some burst selfies or some stunning images with the new cameras. Anything you want to do with your camera on your phone, the Glyph is going to help you do that. It allows you to use your phone to its fullest extent. Everything from recording YouTube videos of yourself talking about your cat to recording long time lapses of Italian beaches. Or maybe you just want to have a handy companion for when you're on long flights, for when you want to watch a movie. The Glyph is so useful that Apple has actually included it in one of their own videos of people using their phones to do great things. Now that is a stamp of approval. We've got an awesome deal for listeners of Connected. Head on over to studioneat.com and enter the promo code CONNECTED to get 10% off anything that you buy at Studio Neat. As well as the Glyph, they have a bunch of other awesome products that I love, like the Neat Ice Kit, the Cosmonaut, and more. Go find out about them now and buy them all. I would like to thank Studio Neat for their support of Connected and Relay FM. Go support them by going to studioneat.com.
So, what are we going to buy?
Who wants to go first?
I think Federico's will be the most interesting.
So should he go first?
Yes.
Okay. Teach, tell us all about it.
Yeah, so here's what I've been thinking. So for the past 2 years, I've been using an iPad mini and of course an iPhone. And I wrote about the reason why I chose the iPad mini is because it lets me use the iPad more because it's so light and so thin that I can type in portrait mode because I'm not afraid of thumb typing, and I just prefer the form factor of the iPad mini. So yesterday I was looking at these new phones, and as I told you guys, I did the MacBook Air screen test with my hand, and I think I'm going with the iPhone 6 Plus and the new 64 gig model because I'm not gonna go with 16 gigabytes of storage ever again. And my reasoning is that my hand is big enough to handle that kind of display, and I realize that most of the time when I'm using my iPhone, I don't necessarily need one-handed usage all the time. There were in the past 2 years, uh, you know, occasions in which I needed the one-handed operation. When I couldn't use my arms, and hopefully there's not gonna be any more of that. And so, especially after seeing the custom interfaces in landscape on the iPhone 6 Plus, it looks like an iPad mini in a way. And so my idea was that I could get the iPhone 6 Plus at 64 gigs of storage. That would be effectively a super portable iPad mini and also a phone. And for the iPad, because I do love the iPad, I could get an iPad Air, and well, if it's still called the iPad Air, not the Pro, not the 50-inch model that's coming out, the 10-inch iPad. So go back to the roots of my iPad history and get a regular iPad and turn it officially into my portable computer and see what happens. And worst case scenario, next year I'm gonna get like an iPhone 5C and go back to the iPad mini. I'm not gonna go back to the iPhone 5C, but it's just a joke, bad joke.
Anything's possible, buddy. Anything.
Yeah.
I should get like one of those Android phones for people obsessed with privacy, like the black phone. You guys ever seen a black phone?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a black brick with no features. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with the iPhone 6 Plus. See what happens. Use it as an iPad Mini / iPhone. Get a bigger iPad, and and give Apple a lot of money, of course, because that stuff is gonna be expensive. I mean, in euros, the iPhone that I wanna get, it's over 900 euros, which for you American people, it means that I'm buying a phone that it's gonna cost me $1,200.
What configuration are you getting?
iPhone 6 Plus.
In what size?
64 gig.
What the hell is happening in Italy?
It's 949 euros.
Wow.
Do the conversion yourself.
No, I agree. But that's okay because I'll jump ahead. That's what I'm getting. But
either I'm drunk or
it's
I was
way
drunk
cheaper. It's £699, which is like $1,100.
Hold on, I'm checking again. Just to make sure. iPhone 6 Plus starts at $839.
Oh, euros.
The model that I want to get, so Space Gray, 64 gig, 949 euros.
That's
off contract.
Yeah, but I'm looking
contract.
off contract too. So off contract, iPhone 6 Plus starts at £619, £699 for the 64 gigabyte. Federico, that is insane.
Look in the chat room for prices around the world. This
6
is
Plus
awful.
in Norway is $1,200.
Yeah, which is what it is for me.
So Mike and Federico, you're both doing the Plus.
Yeah,
64 gig.
My sort of thinking is quite similar to Federico. Like, I'm really intrigued by the semi iPad interface because I use my phone so much. I like the idea of being able to turn it on its side and get more out of it. Like the keyboard stuff is really interesting to me. Like I like the idea of it. I do like having a larger screen in general. I don't know if I'm going to like a screen this big. I saw a relative today who has a 6-inch phone, and it was okay to hold. Like it wasn't the best thing ever, but it was fine. It was definitely usable. There's definitely more two-handed use than one-handed use, but one-handed use is possible. I am a little bit concerned that developers won't take full advantage of the 6 Plus. Like, I'm worried that developers probably won't buy. A lot of developers won't buy it because it's been getting a bit of like, oh, why would you buy that kind of phone? So I'm concerned that people won't take full advantage of it. So I'm hoping that the device sells really well, so it forces people into doing it. Because I think that's some of the problem that we've seen with the iPad recently, right? People are stopping to use it.
Right.
And obviously I want higher battery life.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah.
I want higher battery life. This phone promises that. However, if it doesn't give me the amount that I need, I cannot put a Mophie case on this because it will be too big. So
it's gonna be like a skateboard in your hand.
Yeah, it will be insane. I will need someone else to come around with me to carry my phone for me.
You would need a license for that.
So basically, this is my thinking. I already have one of those Mophie juice packs, and I figured that in a best case scenario, I would need that in emergencies, but not every day like I currently use with my like the Mophie brick, right? I have one of those, but I also have the Mophie case on my phone. I need the Mophie case on my phone for my phone to just be operational for a whole day, with the amount that I use it. But I'm hoping that my phone will get me through most of the day. You know, maybe one charge at lunch or something, or when I'm sitting at my desk for a bit, which is fine. And then, you know, if I'm out somewhere, or I'm traveling, then I can rely on the little Mophie brick. So what I figured I'm going to do is I'm not sure if I can use the screen. I don't know how great that's going to be. I don't know how the battery's going to be for me. But I have 14 days in which I can return it.
It's true.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the 6 Plus.
So what are you going to do with your iPad? Because you have a mini.
Yeah,
right?
So that's the other thing. I don't know there. Like, in theory, in my mind, I won't need an iPad anymore. Because they're so close. Like, really. I think the difference there is it actually ends up not being that much. I can type with 2 hands on the iPad mini. I don't know if we had to do that on the iPhone. Who knows? There's all these questions. I don't know what I would do iPad-wise. I wouldn't. I don't think I'd ever want an iPad Air. I don't like it. I think it's too big. And I think it would be strange to have both a mini and the 6 Plus. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I am very intrigued by this phone, but it may be that I go 2 weeks and it's just not the one for me.
Yeah. I should say that I'm not sure. I may change my mind, especially because of the money. You know.
But like the other thing to say about the Mophie, sorry, Federico, is a 4.7-inch phone with a Mophie is also too big.
Yeah. Why don't you use an external battery pack?
I do.
Not a case.
I do, but I mean, I have one, but I'm like out and about and on the go, like walking around and doing things. Mm-hmm. So it just sits in this case. Like, I don't want to be carrying around this brick and a cable and putting that in my pocket. Like,
yeah, you know why I use it? It's because I drive a car.
There you go.
And I have room for the cable and everything. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. The second I'm in my car and I use Bluetooth audio, but I still have a lightning cable in the car so I can charge, the second that I'm in there. So you guys are both doing, at this point, 6 Plus.
Maybe.
Maybe. Mike doesn't know what he's doing with his iPad. Federico is thinking about a bigger iPad. So I have the iPhone 5. I did not upgrade to the 5S. And I have the iPad Air. My plan is to do the 6, the 4.7-inch phone. The battery life is tempting. It's not drastic. If it was, several hours more instead of 1 or 2 hours more, I think it would be more tempting. And the optical image stabilization is tempting, but I think going from the 5 to the 6 will be a nice enough improvement on the camera that I'll be okay. So my plan is to do the 64 gig iPhone 6, not the Plus, and I'm going to pre-order Friday morning.
Yeah, I'll be pre-ordering.
Yeah. Of course, in Italy we gotta wait a week.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's
sorry,
out.
man.
It's out on the 26th. Yeah.
I'm hoping that I'll be pre-ordering and then I'm going to be in Italy and Federico refuses to come and meet me.
Oh, so that's me now?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
So
you keep saying that.
When I get home from Italia, hopefully there'll be a phone waiting for me. But we'll
Dude,
see.
they're supposed to deliver the phone in the US is supposed to ship like September 18th or 19th, which is right when we're having our baby. And so it's I could like super slow-mo the birth if it's in time.
You know
this
phone is likely gonna be bigger than your baby.
It's true. I don't know. We've had pretty big babies in the past, so we'll see. So we should talk about payments.
We should hold this a bit because I have like a million things to say. I think we should maybe just top level it and then come back to it. So basically, Apple did exactly what I expected. NFC, they have this secure enclave thing. It's not an Apple thing. Like, it's a standard thing for banks to allow you to use NFC for their payments and to be a third party. You have to have something that is called a secure enclave in the phones. This could be another reason why Apple haven't done it right now, because it was another thing they had to put in the phone. It's like a separate chip. And I think it interacts with the SIM card in some way. Because you typically with other institutions or other examples of this, you register your phone number with your bank as well, which helps enable this sort of transaction. I don't know if Apple are doing that. It might just be using an Apple ID type scenario with that. There's a lot of interesting stuff here. The fact that they're US only is kind of expected, but I think is not the right place to do it. It's, as I said before, that Europe is much more, it has the infrastructure in place already to deal with this. Apple is having to probably strong arm a lot of these companies and like help them along in getting this done. But obviously, it's the only place they would do it. Why would they do it anywhere else to start with? I love these conversations. I love on slides we're like, and we're hoping to work with. They've not spoken to any bank outside the United States of America.
No.
They haven't, and now they're just hoping that the other banks will come knocking. But Apple will have to court everyone on this because these are huge financial institutions. It is exactly everything that you would want. I haven't seen payment limits yet. I don't know if they're out, but in theory, you should be, if your bank permits, you should be able to do transactions of multiple hundreds of dollars with this because of the added security of Touch ID. So that's a really interesting idea. Typically, these sort of contactless payments, as they're called in Europe and other places, is for small amounts.
Right.
But because Apple is using this, like it is a second factor authentication method by having the Touch ID sensor involved, that you should be able to do larger amounts. It's super interesting, but I think we're not going to see the ramifications of this in the US for some time, because there is select retailers, some weird retailers that don't seem to fit Apple, like McDonald's. Strange. I was surprised we didn't see Starbucks in there.
So it was on one slide, but not on the other. I don't know what the deal was with that.
Right. Okay.
But more so than that, like I bank with a small local credit union that like is not, they barely have online banking. They're not going to do this.
Yep.
And so for me, like, yes, like our business, my business account is at a big bank, but my personal one is not. And so there's some confusion to me. They say if your debit card is in iTunes, you can use it, but if your bank doesn't allow it, can you use it? There's a lot of gray area.
I think the debit card in iTunes part is for like in-app purchases with Apple Pay, as opposed to card transactions via NFC with Apple Pay. They are two separate things.
Yeah, I don't know. So we're gonna keep an eye on it, and
This is
I'm sure we will revisit.
One of those things we're gonna change the world, and then there's a little asterisk, and the asterisk says US only.
Yeah, we're going to
So
change
it's
the
really-
world one country at a time.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to care at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super fascinating. It's just, in America.
Like, I want this so bad, you can't even understand.
Yeah.
This is a feature that I really want because I love the contactless technology. Like, there is so many things that can be done with this. And also including NFC in the phones is a big deal, and there could be so many things Apple could do with that, like with HomeKit, which we don't know if that's going to be opened up at any point, but like HomeKit and handoff and continuity, NFC could play a big role in that in the future.
Yeah, it is interesting that the payments are opened to third parties. They showed Uber, Target, a couple others. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I do fear that it will be sort of a niche market.
Yeah.
But we will see. It's hard to gauge this sort of thing. Is this going to be something that really makes a difference, or is it going to be something that's sort of just like, oh, I use it in the Apple Store and at Whole Foods, but most of the time it doesn't impact my life.
See, this is the thing. It would be used in Europe.
Yeah.
It would. Like, I know it would, and it's a big thing here.
It wouldn't be used in Viterbo, but maybe in Europe it will be used. Will people finally start caring about Passbook thanks to this?
Is it even Passbook, though?
It's Passbook.
It is.
It's in Passbook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There's a
I
new-
thought
there's
that
a
there
new-
might have been an Apple Pay app. I didn't
No.
recall that.
There's a new icon for Passbook too. It's like a
Woohoo.
new design. Yeah.
Right, let's take a break because I spent more time on that than I said I was going to. I really care about this, guys. I think I'm the only person.
You really
On
care
the
about
planet.
money.
Me and Eddie Q, like we really care about this. Nice shirt, Eddie. Okay, so let's take a break to thank our third and final sponsor for this week's episode, and that is our friends at Igloo, an intranet you'll actually like. Igloo is built with easy-to-use integrated apps like shared calendars, Twitter-like microblogs, file sharing, task management, and so much more. With Igloo, you can work better together with your co-workers. You're easily able to co-author documents, share status updates about what the cake's like in the conference room, and manage your projects all in one place. When someone makes changes to an item in Igloo, notifications are sent in the way that you choose, and a complete version history is always maintained, which keeps everyone in sync. This makes sure that you're connected and in touch with things, but it also gives you protection in case Bob in Accounts accidentally deletes that GIF from your presentation. Just this past week, Gartner released their famed report. This is amazing, guys. It's called The Magic Quadrant for Social Software in the Workplace.
Amazing.
It sounds fantastic. And Igloo appears on this report for the 6th consecutive year, alongside huge companies like Microsoft, IBM, Google, and SAP. In a report that actually values the size of the vendor, which in Gartner terms is known as viability, Igloo is praised for their responsiveness and customer experience. I would like to read you an excerpt from Gartner's profile of Igloo. Feedback from Igloo's reference customers was consistently positive. They praised the product's quick development, configuration, and customization flexibility with self-service options for non-technical users, control over branding and information organization, and ease of use. They also praised the responsiveness of Igloo as an organization. What more do you need than that? If your company has a legacy intranet built on SharePoint or old portal technology, you should be giving Igloo a try, or if you want to stay connected with the people that work in your small business, you should be doing it. It's free to use with up to 10 people, and you can sign up right now at igloosoftware.com/connected. Thank you so much to Igloo for their fantastic and continued support of this show and all of Relay FM. So
The time has come.
we got to talk about one more thing.
The wearable.
Mm-hmm.
So, Federico, break this down. Tell us how it is.
So Apple announced a watch, and it's not called the iWatch, it's called Apple Watch. And it comes in 3 different models, the Apple Watch, the Apple Watch Sport, and the Apple Watch Edition, which is going to be the most expensive version. Each model has 2 sizes. I assume one is a women's model, the other is a standard model for, larger hands. That was at least my assumption. And it's a watch basically. It's clearly, and it's not a device made for tech geeks necessarily. It's a very fashionable item. Apple spent a lot of efforts on both on the website and in the product videos, talking about the effort of making a smart. They never said smartwatch, right? Because that's the term that we use to define to describe this kind of devices. They wanted to highlight how they spent so much time trying to make a fine timepiece that builds on the tradition of watchmaking, and combine that with features from the watch OS, which according to Apple is an iOS based operating system for the watch. And so they try to really highlight how the Apple Watch wants to be a regular watch that you want to buy and that you want to wear and that you want to use as some kind of statement, right? Because fashion is about statement and taste and luxury, maybe in a way, and but also the kind of watch that helps you take advantage of your time to manage time in a better way, to have an active lifestyle and to be in shape and to have a better connection with your iPhone. So Apple used I went to the Apple PR website and I went looking for the original press release for the first iPhone, and Apple used the title "Apple reinvents the phone with iPhone," and instead with the Apple Watch, Apple is saying the most personal device ever we ever made, and that's another big point from Apple, is that they're trying to push the Apple Watch not only as a fashionable object, which it totally is because it's made from premium materials, and there's gonna be aluminum models. There's going to be stainless steel. There's going to be 18 straps and bands designed and crafted by Apple. There's going to be a gold option, and it is a fine object and a great looking, in my opinion, timepiece. But Apple is also trying to say that because it's on your wrist and because you wear the Apple Watch, we can make the software more personal by looking at stuff like your heart rate, because we have sensors, and because we can use that for some kind of software features that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And so, to my surprise, I have a lot of questions and doubts about the Apple Watch, right? Because we talked about this before a lot, and I think the product that we saw yesterday is kind of in the middle of what Mike was arguing and what I was arguing.
I completely agree, and I'm so happy you see it that way.
Yeah, I think it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah,
I think we saw that there's a little spark of an idea of using sensors to make regular software more personal, but we didn't see much of that. We did see a lot of fashion, which is exactly what we were saying last year, or actually a few months ago. And we also saw a lot of traditional smartwatch features that Mike was saying there's gonna be a lot of those. And I didn't think that Apple would do, basically, I think Ben Thompson counted the number of apps shown in the screenshots and demo videos. Apple showed 64 apps for the Apple Watch.
That interface looks insane. It
Yes.
looks good, but I don't even know if I'm going to know where to start. Like, they had one app, which was a stopwatch, and then an app next to it that was a timer. You could put those in one. Like,
Yes.
you don't need separate apps for the stopwatch and the timer.
Apple is saying that all these apps are meant for lightweight functionalities and simple interactions. So I think that what we saw yesterday is a kind of middle ground between, what Mike was saying. There's going to be a smartwatch with all these notification features because I want to get stuff from my phone to my wrist because it's quicker, because it's easier, and because it's more convenient in some situations. But there's also a strong health and fitness related aspect. And there is this idea, right, of using sensors and feedback on your skin to make these apps behave in a different way than what we're used to with phones. But I think we'll have to wait and see if Apple is gonna do more of that. If there is stuff that we haven't seen yesterday, because the Apple Watch doesn't ship until early next year, and so I have a lot of doubts and questions, and I wasn't expecting Apple to do this kind of new product that does a lot of things. It's not the kind of product that you expect from Apple, because we're used to imagine that Apple does a very basic and simple thing, and with time it gains more features, like iOS, for instance, or like the iPhone. And instead, this looks like a new product, and I don't know what to think. I don't know because the cynical part of me wants to say Apple couldn't decide, so they just added everything. And the other part says maybe Apple now has the expertise after all these years of iOS, and they know all people eventually are going to want all these features. So they're going to start, from the first version with all this stuff. And I don't know what to think right now. I think it is interesting that Apple is investing so much on the fashion component and on the materials, on the design, on the machinery used to create the bands and the straps. And it is going to be interesting to see with apps and sensors the kind of access the developers gain to information about your body, basically, and about your movements. And if this is going to play out as a fancier Apple-like traditional smartwatch, or if there's going to be at some point after the release, there's going to be the kind of surprise, the kind of app, and the kind of API that says, okay, this is different, and I need this. And so I have a lot of thoughts, but I just I'll let you guys continue because this is too much for me.
Yeah. So from a functionality standpoint, that was something that we argued about with smartwatches, with the Pebble back on the prompt, and I would say that you could split the functionality of the Apple Watch right up the middle. You have sort of smartwatch air quote things like notifications and apps and sort of the weird messaging, which is like, I don't want to send anyone my heartbeat, but whatever. And I think on all of that stuff, I think they're doing a nice job, but I don't know if it's a drastically different thing than what Android Wear is doing, right? It's all this like basic glanceable information, but you still need your smartphone to respond to an email.
Mm-hmm.
Where
you could use Siri.
Yeah, which is like Siri barely works on my phone. I don't when you sit on a watch. I say that now. Where I think they have moved the needle is on the fitness side of things. And there's been a lot of people, I talk in my office at work, a lot of people on Twitter complain that it doesn't have its own GPS. So I can't, if I go for a run, I have to take my phone with me if I want to track where I've gone. And that's obvious, like 2.0 or 3.0 hardware feature. But I think Apple bringing fitness stuff to the masses is really interesting. Tim Cook said on stage, he said, this is important to me and it's important to Apple. And that's another thing where like the one more thing comment, this is very clearly Tim Cook's product. And, there's a lot of details that are still missing, clearly. But the fact that this thing not only tracks steps and heart rate and all that stuff, just like the Fitbit or, the Samsung Watch or any other thing, I think where Apple is going to make a difference is sort of the coaching and sort of the, hey, let's get you moving a little bit more, giving suggestions. And I know I spoke to somebody today actually with the Jawbone Up 24, and the Jawbone app does some of that. But I think Apple's going to make it really easy. And I think that, like, when I think of the watch, so far, I mean, it's only 24 hours later, but my brain goes to the fitness stuff first, and I sort of view the notification and app stuff almost as secondary, and whether that is how it pans out in practice, I don't know.
I think
it's
that's
pretty
a personal
clear
preference because I see it
Maybe.
the opposite way.
Yeah, I'm with Steven. I totally agree. I think that the recommendations and the suggestions are gonna be a huge feature, especially because, I mean, it's fine when you get all these charts and little graphs in the health application on the phone and other stuff like the Jawbone app, but when you get a simple message like, you know, walk more or try to take a break, right? Don't just sit all day in front of your computer. This kind of, and plus Apple is saying that the watch is going to learn over time from your habits and try to get better with the suggestions. I think that's a powerful message, right? The coaching and, you can wear this device and with time it gets better because it learns from you. And it's not just a pretty graph with, progress. That's a powerful feature, I think.
Did you guys find in the demo, like the possibility for confusion around what you do with touch and when you use the crown?
So I have one problem that I have is like when Tim started talking about this, he's like, we don't want you touching the screen and hiding the screen, and then like 10 minutes later, like, and then you swipe and then you tap and there seems like the amount of input methods. So you can tap it, you can swipe it, you can force tap it, you can speak to it, and you can use the digital crown, which can zoom, or it can scroll, or you can click it.
It's basically no, like there's no 2-finger gestures. Yeah. I don't think.
I think there is one. I think actually, let me check. I think there is a 2-finger gesture. I think
there is two. I think you would get used to it, and I'm sure that over time you would understand what things do. But it seems like there are too many input methods.
Steven, do you want to know what the 2-finger gesture is used for?
Yes.
To send your heartbeat to someone else.
Oh my God.
That heartbeat thing, by the way.
Why?
I think it's super cute and it's very, very sweet. And I look at it and I'm like, that is a lovely thing to do.
It's not sweet? Creepy 3D emoji.
No, yeah, okay, that was a bit weird. The hands freak me out so much. But there's only one person in the world that I want to send my heartbeat to.
Me.
And it's Steven, and it's my girlfriend, and I don't think that she's necessarily going to want to buy one of these. So then,
for a second, I thought you were gonna say Eric Schmidt.
I mean, I would send it to Eric Schmidt.
He already has it.
Yeah, right.
But like, so I was thinking, like, all of this stuff, like these little the drawing things and stuff like that. It's a really nice. I like it. I think it's very nice. But there aren't a lot of people in the world that I would want to send that sort of stuff to. I think it'd be kind of weird if I sent Steven a little, like, heart that I drew out on my phone. Like, I feel like I would use it completely, like, ironically.
Yeah, well, and there's the whole thing Brian Hamilton brings up in the chat is, so in the demo, he's like, I drew 3 blue circles, and we just know that that's code for what are you going to do for lunch? And again, like,
just send them a text message.
Yeah, well, it's a very intimate thing, right? Like, I'm sure you guys with your significant others have a shorthand, right, of in-jokes or references. And I get what they're trying to do. And I can even get behind most of it. But it's obviously a new thing. And I don't know, like, how, like, is that going to just be cheesy in real life, or is it going to be sweet? I don't know. It's clearly too early to tell.
But I would like to try it, but I don't think it has, like, they have, like, when they brought up that little, you press the button, it shows all the faces, like 12 people. I don't have 12 people I want to send my heartbeat to. It just doesn't exist. And even if I do, I'm sure those 12 people won't all own one of these devices. But anyway, I am very excited about this watch because it's basically everything that I wanted. right? It does some extra things that are really cool, but I wanted the Android Wear made by Apple. So it gives me all of that information. I mean, that's the key thing for me is the information, and it also will have apps that will allow you to do some extra things. That's exactly what I wanted, and it's made with Apple design, and it looks fantastic. That's what and that's that was what I've been asking for the last few months, and what me and Federico have been screaming at each other about. It's
Which makes the day feel very anticlimactic. There's been no yelling about this.
Yeah.
It's weird.
There's nothing to yell about. Like originally, I was like, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna say, "See, Federico, I told you." But then the more that I thought about it, it's like it is close to what Federico was saying in that it's done differently and it is more refined. Apple, I would say that they're not doing anything that. I mean, everybody was saying there's gonna be this unexpected thing that we can't even think about. I don't think we got that. The only thing we didn't know is sending our heartbeat to each other, and I don't think that is this amazing thing that everyone was wishing for. I think I'm just going to go on with other things that I think about now. The watch faces, on the whole, I don't think look very good.
And it seems like, so I'm on the apple.com/watch/design, and there's like, I don't know, like 15 or so watch faces. And in the video, he shows that you can like change what they are. You can mix and match a little bit. I do not like the one that's a butterfly, but
yep.
I don't know. It look okay. I'm really curious how the screen itself looks. Like they did not give the resolution of the screen, I don't believe.
Yep.
I agree that I think like on the talk show they were talking about it. I don't want a smartwatch that, like, I want a digital, like a smart display, like one that shows me the upcoming, alarm or sunset. Like I don't want just a watch face on something like this.
Which is what they're showing, like an analog watch face. Which is
there's one that's got Mickey Mouse hands that go around.
Oh, I know. Like that, you're going to show me like 6, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the watch faces on the iPod Nano from 2010.
It was. They also had like Kermit and
so one of the interesting things that I'm thinking about a lot is kind of the new dimension that the sensors on the watch add for iPhone developers. So I was considering, right, you have this new heart rate sensor thing going on, and there's going to be a WatchKit API to make apps for the watch. And there's a post by Greg Pierce, the drafts and terminology developer. And he's arguing that, in his opinion, watch apps are going to be like extensions. They're going to be bundled inside iPhone or iPad apps, and you can just transfer them to the watch. And I think that's a good point, but we don't know that right now. But my point is iPhone developers, like Apple is doing with the activity and fitness apps, they should be able to access information collected on the watch and use it in some way on the iPhone. So I was thinking about the heartbeat, and what if, and I'm just thinking out loud basically, what if you're watching you're playing a horror game, and the game can adjust the kind of like the monsters that they show you based on the level of your heartbeat? Or what if all these other apps, they can track your heartbeat and activity and do other. I don't know. I think there is an idea maybe about this new about software that it's not necessarily fitness related, but that can take advantage of your body and of these sensors in new ways. And I'm hoping that by the final release we will see these kind of ideas, because otherwise it seems like wasted potential, right? To just have a sensor and use it for messaging and of course the fitness tracking, but that's another point. And so maybe developers will come up with ideas. Maybe Apple is already working on these ideas, and they didn't show all this stuff they're working on yesterday. But I think it's an interesting. There is potential, right, about doing different stuff that's not sending my heartbeat to Steven or running, because by the way I cannot run for my that's another story. But I kind of wish I'll be able to do more.
What about the price?
It's gonna cost you a lot of money, the gold option.
So
I'm curious to where the top level is.
Starting at $350. Personally, I would have liked to have seen it start at $299. I think crossing that 300 threshold. I mean, yes, I understand that watches are expensive and they are luxury items, and this is made out of fantastic materials. I get all of that. It is still a consumer electronic, and for $500, we'll buy you an iPad.
Yeah.
That is, and I know that with Apple products, you can never put them side by side on price because it all starts to get crazy. But it's still a $350 accessory for an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it is, because it doesn't work on its own, is my assumption, in any way.
I disagree with you already.
Okay.
So I guess we found a new... I disagree because, I mean, if you look at the website and if you look at the marketing material,
Federico, what Apple is saying it is one thing. Like, Apple is saying it's fashion, right?
Yeah.
But it is a consumer electronics item. It is.
I don't think they want to sell that as a device.
Of course they don't want to sell it that way, because they want it to be a fashion item. But it is a consumer electronic item, because you can dress it up, right, with fancy bands, but it is a tiny computer that you wear on your wrist.
It's not their stuff. It's a combination of those two things. It's not like a display with stuff around and it just happens to be a watch.
I'm not trying to downplay it, because I think it looks fantastic. When I say dress it up, I don't mean it. I can see the incredible work that's gone into it. But it's still Apple selling it, and Apple is a consumer electronics company.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be expensive.
It is expensive. That's my point. I don't think it should be as expensive. I think it's a case of $50 in it, right, for me. But I think that you keep the base under 300, and then people can choose whatever they want. One thing I'd also love to see, I would love to see Apple open the ability for fashion companies to make straps for it. I don't think only Apple should be making the straps. Just a thought.
I mean, they maybe could open it up. It is very clever. One thing you could do, you could buy if I were to buy one, I like the sport version in the dark, the space gray aluminum. But you can change the watch face and change the band, and it has a very different look. And you can make it colorful and bright, or you can make it sort of subdued. One thing I really like about the watch that I wear is that the face is black, the band is black. It's very subdued. It's not flashy, and so you can tone this thing up or tone it down depending on what you want to do with just swapping in a band and changing the face. So it is customizable and flexible from a fashion perspective, which is something that like my watch isn't great with a suit. Like, it's okay, but it's better if I'm just in my normal jeans and a dress shirt. Is that part I think they got right, and especially for a version 1. I mean, there's a bunch of options here, and that's really impressive to me that they, have 6 cases already, plus however many bands.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I must say, Federico, you going to buy one?
Yeah, of course.
Stephen,
I'm unsure. I'm unsure at this point. And after you answer, I want to come back because I've got one more thing I want to add.
Yes, I am.
Tell people you are. Okay.
Yeah. I will be buying.
two yays and one maybe.
Yeah.
It will be, I will tell you this, it will be something that I do not pre-order. I want to see it in person. Printing out the thing last night, it's the big one is the size of the Seiko watch that I wear now, but I want to see it. So here's my big overall thing. Apple sometimes gets excited about things that don't go anywhere. So it's hard to come with like a hardware example. We joked about the iPod Hi-Fi. And software. I think more on the software side. Apple's like, hey, I think payments very easily could be this. Like, hey, we got this awesome thing. And like, it doesn't really go anywhere. Like the iBook store and iBooks author, like, yeah, it's cool in a small market, but Apple did not revolutionize textbooks. the danger here for Apple is you get Tim Cook on stage, very clearly his product, very clearly Johnny Ive's project. This is their baby. And for Tim to get on stage and say, this is the next chapter in Apple's story, is a huge statement. It's absolutely monumental. And if this doesn't do well, I think it will within Apple, people listening to shows like ours. But if this doesn't do well mass market, I don't know what they do. And I'm not saying, so to stop the follow-up before it happens, I'm not saying that the watch has to have an iPhone size market. Nothing is going to be the size of the iPhone. The iPhone is a one of a kind. The iPad is one of a kind. But if they only sell 250,000 of these things, I don't think that's successful. And then what do they do? Do they just keep trucking along? Or is it something that they back away from? And then it's like, this was going to be the next chapter, but it turns out no one really wants one. And I have no idea how that story ends. I really can't sit here and guess in a year how many of these things they've sold and how successful it has been. I do. Someone said iTunes Ping.
You've got lots of G4 cubes as well.
Yeah, I have a G4 cube. Joe Steele.
You might have one. It doesn't mean it's a success.
It was not a success. And so I don't know. That worries me a little bit because they're so clearly have invested so much in it, but very publicly have said this is the future. This is where we're going. I do think that's not an answer that we're going to have in 6 months. It's not even probably an answer we're going to have in a year. This is a 2, 3, 4 year thing to see what this thing does. It is very interesting. I do think ultimately lots of Apple people, nerds, will have them. I just don't know. My wife does not want one. Will she want one in the future? That sort of market is what I wonder. I wonder how they're going to react. I don't know.
I'm Federico, I'm glad that we found our point to argue over.
Yeah, now it's the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much potential, I think, for stuff that Apple didn't announce yesterday. We didn't see a single mention of HomeKit, of using the Apple Watch for authentication that is not Apple Pay. There's a plenty of stuff that could, come with the first release, or that Apple may be saving for the Apple Watch 2. So it's super early to tell. I think it's both. I think it's wrong to say this is going to be the future or this is going to be a huge failure. And so I guess reasonable people often choose to wait. And I think we should, wait and see what happens. And now my problem actually is trying to choose a band for the watch.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that.
I'm serious. Because the sports one is nice, right? And it's not too serious. I'm not I'm not too fancy in the kind of clothes that I wear. I mean, I want to look good, but I'm not too sophisticated. I'm not too sophisticated, right? And because the gold one is not for me. So there's the Apple Watch with the Milanese band.
I love that one.
Yeah, the loop, right?
Yeah, I really love that one.
That looks fantastic, but also the stainless steel looks great.
Yep. Hey, Federico, buy them all.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I should sell my house to get Apple Watches.
The differences between them, right, is the materials they're made out of. And is there a thickness difference?
I mean, I'm sure there's some, but Apple said they're all pretty thin. The classic buckle looks a little thick. The leather loop does not look good to me.
Sorry, I meant the watch faces.
Oh no, I think they're all. I don't think Apple said the thickness, which is interesting.
Apple didn't publish any tech specs, which is also interesting because clearly this is not an announcement for the tech nerds.
Yeah. This won't do more than a day. Battery life, and they kind of said that. They're like, it will last you all day.
Yeah, that I don't want to charge a watch every night.
You will be. Charger's nice though. MagSafe is a great way of doing it. They need to put that into like some sort of dock, though. I think would be really sweet. You just plug it into a little dock, put your phone down on it at night. But I will then be carrying around more cables to charge my devices when I go places more than a day. But I'm excited about this.
You get a Mophie wristband
For the
your
watch.
watch.
Just sit it inside.
Stephen, go
patent
open a
it.
Kickstarter right now
Yep.
for the Mophie watch.
Done.
What could we call that?
I'm gonna give you so much money. So my mother called me today. I just wanted to conclude on
And
this
she
note.
said,
My mother,
Federico, how are you?
my mother calls me and she's like, I watched the live stream yesterday.
Okay.
How did you do that? I mean, it was impossible. So, and she asked me about the Apple Watch. So, of course, she knows what's coming. And now I'm afraid that because she can relate more to this kind of product. She's gonna ask me about all the details every day. Because she already asked me twice today about this watch and what it does. Because she seems to understand the watch more. She's not great at using the iPhone. Like, she does the basic stuff like messages and Facebook and a little bit of Safari. She gets confused with mail. But the watch, she seems to be already very much into the idea of an Apple Watch. And I think, I wanted to say this because it's pretty funny. But I think there's a serious point about, normal people who find iPhones and computers too much complex. And instead, the Apple Watch is a kind of a gateway to new tech for these people. And I don't want to say right now because it's too soon. But if this plan works, I guess for Apple, fashion will be
A new thing.
a new thing and a new kind of halo effect, just like the iPod. I don't know. It's something to think about for the watch release.
So I think that's about it, right?
Yeah,
Big week.
yeah.
Oh, I'm happy we've got some news again.
You were missing the Apple keynotes.
Yeah.
You know what's not great?
What's
It's
not
that I gotta prepare all these articles for next Wednesday.
Yeah, Iowa 8 next Wednesday. So that will be the topic of the hour next week.
That will
Yeah.
be the end of me because I'm writing basically 20 hours each day. So
You can do it, buddy.
yeah, hopefully. I don't know.
So if you want to catch the show notes for this week's episode, go to relay.fm/connected/4. Thank you again to our sponsors for this week, Linda, Igloo, and Studio Neat. We'll be back next week with another episode of your favorite podcast on the internet. Oh, I've coined a new one.
Keep moving. Just keep moving.
Here we go. If you want to catch us online, there's a few places you can do that. I am iMike. I am YKE on Twitter. Federico is at Viticci, Viticci, and he writes at macstories.net. And Stephen is at ISMH, and he writes at 512pixels.net. And don't forget, of course, there are a bunch of other fantastic shows that you're going to enjoy at relay.fm. We'll be back next week. Until then, goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Adios.